Hi and welcome. My name is Tolan and I'm the co-founder of Productivity Me. In this video, we're going to look at three different functions, that of count, count A, and count blank. We'll describe the differences of count, count A, and count blank, and how you can use them in order to find the total number of cells in a given range. So if that's interesting to you, join us in this video. If you want to follow along, go ahead and download exercise file 04.10. Okay, so another very useful function in Microsoft Excel is called count. And what will count do? Well, if we start typing the word count, we notice that count will allow us to count the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. So as we've discussed earlier in the course, right, you can have text, you can have numbers which are right justified, or you can have some series of mixed things or blank spaces. You can have things like equations or formulas, like 1 plus 1. Now, if we use the count function, let's say that we want to count everything in this range, the range of B2 to F11. So it says that there are 15 values in this range that have numeric values. So, okay, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, great. Now, there are going to be occasions where you don't just want to know how many cells have numbers in them or numeric inputs, but have other inputs, things like text and numbers. The way that you do that is by using count A. So count A will count the number of cells in range that are not empty. So essentially that have something in it, whether that be text, whether that be a blank space, whether that be a number. It just means non-blank cells. So we're going to say, okay, we want to count all the cells in the same range, that range of B2 to F11. So we input that, and okay, it says that there are 23 cells that have something in it, whether that be number, text, spaces, whatever. Okay, so there are going to be other occasions, as we'll demonstrate, that you want to figure out how many blank cells you have. So you would type in count and then scroll down to the third one, which is count blank, and it counts the number of empty cells in a specified range. So we're going to use the same range that we've been using before, that range of B2 to F11. We're going to press enter, and it's going to say that there are 27 blank cells. Now the cool thing is, if we were to input something here, like some text, once we input it, the count A function will change. The count blank function will change because essentially it's saying, well, there is one more individual cell that has something in it, and there's one more or one less cell that is blank, but this text right here is not numeric. So the first value will not change, the second value will go up 1, and the third value will go down 1. So we input text, and that's what happened. 15, 24, 26. What if we were to put text in this cell? Again, it's going to go 15, then 25, and then 25. So put that, and it would be 25 and 25. So what you might gather is if you want to figure out how many cells you have in a specific range, what you're going to do is you're going to add up the cells that are not blank and then the cells that are blank, and that should give you the total number of cells that you have in a range. So the way that you do that is by either, you could go like this. If you've already counted the number of cells that are blank and the number of cells that aren't blank, you could just add them together. Or if you hadn't done that before, you could say, well, I want to count A, all of the cells in this specific range, and then I want to add that number up with count blank. So I want to add that with all the blank cells. So basically I want to find all the non-blank cells in this specific range, and then I want to add them to all the blank cells, and that's basically going to be the amount of cells in a range. So again, it's 50. Now, what if we were to put a number here, or let's just put text again, and this will increase by 1, this will decrease by 1, this value here will stay the same, and these two values will stay the same. So let's see what happens. Indeed. Well, what if we were to put the number here, on the number 10? So this value will go up by 1, the non-blank cells will go up by 1, and then the individual blank cells will go down by 1. So we'll do that, and you'd see that it changes. But this specific range, everything in the range is staying the same. Our range is still 50 cells, and the way that we figured that out was by adding up the values from our count A and our count blank, Or if we want to do that one step, we would basically say, what is the count of this given range, the count A, the non-blank cells, plus the count of the blank cells. And in both cases, we would get 50. Now, there can be one really deceiving thing in Microsoft Excel, and that's if you have spaces. So if you have spaces, those are counted as characters, which means the non-blank cells, that of count A, will go up, and the blank cells will go down. So we're going to press enter. But you can't tell that this cell is actually blank, or rather not blank. So if you want to find all the cells that are blank, there's a specific way to do that. You can go, first you would select your range here, and then you would go to find and select. You would go to special, click on go to special, and then you could say find all the blank cells, and it would select all of these cells that are blank. So these cells here, these 22 cells are blank. This is blank, this is blank, this is blank, this is blank, these are blank. But this cell right here is not selected, which means that this cell probably has something in it. And if we were to double click into the cell, you'd notice that the cursor does not automatically start at the left like it does if we click here. So this probably means that there are some blank spaces. If we were to delete those blank spaces and then press enter, our blank cells will now increase by 1 and our non-blank cells would decrease by 1. So this, hopefully in some ways, helps demonstrate the concepts of the count function, the count A function, and the count blank function. Now the count function, as we discussed, will essentially count all of the numeric values in a specific range. So in our case, we went like this. We selected the range and we hit enter. Then we can also count the non-blank cells by using count A. We would select that specific range, press enter. We can then figure out how many cells are blank by selecting that range and using count blank. If we wanted to add up and figure out how many cells are in a specific range, we can say, well, what is the number of non-blank cells? And make sure that you close your parentheses there. After closing your parentheses, you would add another function called count blank, and you would use that same range. And that would tell you that in this specific range, that range of B2 to F11, there are 50 cells. We could even verify that by going, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows. So 5 columns times 10 rows is 50 cells. Excellent. So this brings us to the end of our section where we looked at formulas and functions. In our next section, we're going to start to look at some of the formatting techniques and presentation techniques for data within Microsoft Excel. We'll formally cover things like using borders, which we've been doing throughout the course, and things like bold, as well as alignment. So if you're interested in learning how to format cells in different ways, go ahead and join us in the next section, and we'd be very glad to have you there. So thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you again soon. As always, cheers.